Well, his name, if he were to take it in Spanish, his name means king, so...
Which one? Ray?
Ray, yeah.
Ray's last name also means wasted land.
So the king of the West.
Burrell means many different things, but one of its meanings is wasted land, and I didn't know how to take that, so I didn't put it in my notes. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Stoneface Reactions. I'm Theta, this is Lessons, and we are back to another episode of Gundam Seed Destiny. We are on episode 26. No, we're not. Sorry, my thing is reading lies to me. We are on episode 31. Quick, everybody that left, come back. Of course, first off, though, we have the board, because I've got the board changelog to go over, which isn't much. It's like 3 lines, and one of them might be contentious, but while you're loading it up, I'll just read them. We have a blue line connecting Rao to Ray, which that might be the contentious one. Mm-hmm. I put a green line connecting Rao to Durandal.
Yeah.
And I moved Amagi to the Archangel side, connecting him to the Archangel crew with a green line.
That seems pretty straightforward. Which one would you think it's the controversial one? The green line connecting Durandal and...
No, I said the blue line connecting Rao to Ray.
Oh, Rao to Ray. Okay. It's feeling a little itchy. My nose. I'm sorry about that, folks. I just I want to leave it alone. I want to leave it alone. I want to leave it alone.
No, I think I say that all the time on the solo streams because I'm always just...
Yeah. It's not the blow, though. Not like, we're not doing that, at least not on stream anyway.
Yeah, not on stream.
No. Just in case. Although watching these few episodes, my past episodes, I've been thinking about it. Yeah, I mean, the best episode so far.
I mean... I don't know. I mean, they're not the best, obviously. I'm not debating you there. But there's not like there's nothing there. Sorry, I went through that whole process of you say a thing, I say the first thing that comes out of my head, and then instantly in my own head, I start recycling through a bunch of different thoughts. So outwardly, it's like, I don't know. That I don't say something for 10 seconds. And then have an outward debate out loud with myself. And it's like, this is a bad way to think.
Well,
no, my thought was I don't think that I created thoughts about the show just to fill space. I feel like my thoughts are genuine here. So the fact that I had genuine thoughts about stuff that's happening means that something is happening.
Oh, yeah.
But at the same time, I think that might be riding on past show. Like maybe these couple of bad episodes are just riding on stuff that came before.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, stuff is happening, but it's buried into a lot of other stuff that's like, but this is pointless. We've seen this before. We know this. Is it there to provide context? Is it there? Does it actually provide context, or is there just to fill in space? Because it feels like we're doing a lot of recaps and going back to that beach and going back to that speech and going that. It's like, okay, I've been actually watching the show. I know what's going on. I think. Tell me something that is informative. You know, we're past the middle part of the season. Give me something.
It's not a good use of the flashback. Like
it's abuse of the flashback. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, what's a good use of flashback? Well, to hit you with the emotionality of a scene that's about to play out would be one, or a scene that's currently playing out. Like somebody who's dying and you're flashing back to the greatest moments of their lives together, sort of thing. You're hitting them with the emotion that's built up over time at the climax of that emotionality. That's a reason to do it. Or to hit somebody with a thing that they may have missed that you intended for them to miss, to that hit them with later. That would be a good reason, I feel. I mean, that's the one that's a bit iffy because more observant people will have seen it the first time.
Yeah.
So, like that, that's where they handed the thing off, and you might have missed that because you were paying attention to the very important thing up here, but that was the intentional misdirection. for this thing later, and you're like, how did they get that? It's like, oh, that's how they got that. But this is the same thing over and over again. Remember that time they went to the beach? They certainly went to the beach that time.
And I was complaining about 79 doing the whole intro thing, the whole, here's a war started, there's the space station, here's the bird flying, here's the explosion, here's Operation British. They did that far less than now. Like they did it probably 10 times at most, and now here's I think we are matched that just with that visit of the beach, which will go by 5 or 6 times they've done it already, probably 10.
Well, that was just intro narration. I'm not gonna I'm not going to put an intro narration. I mean, that'd be like us discounting SDF Macross, or every time it told us the history of... Or not SDF Macross. Was it SDF Macross that told us the history
Macross
of the...
7. Macross 7 was the one that
I'm not going to discount Macross 7 for telling us the history of SDF Macross every so often.
Yeah.
Because from Gundam 79, it's the first show of the whole Gundam series.
Yeah.
It's not like they were... If they did it in the middle of the episode, that would be different. But literally, this comes right off the end of the opening credits. So that, you could air this episode kind of anywhere, out of order if you wanted to, and be like, it doesn't really work because of the whole... It's not episodic. It's a serial, but at the same time... Yeah, but at the same time, somebody who's just jumping in would at least see this and kind of know what's going on.
Yeah. You cover your bases like there's a war. These other people are fighting. Let's see what happens next. But not with these guys. It's like, why are we doing this again and again? 5 minutes ago, we had this introduction. We had this sequence. We're seeing it again. Another character is also flashing back to it, right?
Especially when you're leading into a clip show.
Which also basically does a run of almost the entirety of the first season up to the point of the clip show, like the past episode. Maybe I should watch that season again, I guess. I don't know. Which you should. You're watching it here, YouTube.
Yeah, but say I've seen it twice. So, and then the movie.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, well, I have notes, and we know that you don't have notes because you've been busy. So
yes, real life.
Yeah, so we'll go over my notes, and well, we know from the last couple of times that every time we've had notes, it's been, well, I have a note about this. I'm like, I've got notes about that too. So we both know. Well, I literally this time around though, I don't know that we would have had the same notes because a lot of my notes are reaching since. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into those. I can't help but draw a comparison between Gundam Seed and Gundam Wing when watching the characters of Seed going for their hidden warships. The Archangel hidden in a cavern under an orb, and the Eternal buried in an asteroid. The thing that comes to my mind is how the Wing cast were so confident in their victory that they hurled their Gundams at the sun. And sure, they had to go back and get them for a movie, but they still tried to get rid of them. Seed's pacifists were like, yeah, well, maybe, and chose to keep their guns nearby, just in case.
I mean, that kind of reinforces Durandal's point at the beginning. It's like, well, everybody's arming up. I need my weapons to defend myself. Well, you shouldn't do that. But in case you do, I guess I got to keep my own guns too, which, again, kind of proves Kagali's point?
No, because Durandal's point was also that Orb is also rearming.
Yeah.
So Kagali's point was null to begin with because it didn't have legs to stand on. Again, it's the idea that you're not willing to buy into the piece, then who else is going to?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm saying. That's why it's like Wing is like, well, we'll throw all our weapons into the sun. That's how much we believe in the piece. And then pacifist Kira is like, yeah, but I'm kind of going to live on top of my gun, if that's okay.
Just in case.
The most, I sleep with it under my pillow that you can get.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, yeah. Let me pull this Gundam out of under my pillow. Yeah.
All right. Durandal doesn't know when or how Kira and when Kira and Lacus met. There's no real thought to that one. I'm just jotting that out.
Yeah.
He says it out loud and then wonders for like the first half of the clip show.
Yeah.
Actually, he doesn't wonder. The clip show tells us as though we were Durandal.
Which is weird. Which is weird construction. Is like it's because it's a clip show. It's a clip show. Durandal doing sort of like super brain computation thing where he's putting all the pieces together, and it's just the easiest way to do that, just to show you what happened. Or is it he says a thing and audience remember, as you know, blah 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 blah. Right? It's weird. It's like
I think it's audience remember.
Yeah, because it doesn't feel. The only time I feel that he's connected to what is shown in the stream is when he's talking about Gladys. Like, oh yeah, I had to leave her, and that feels like when he's actually thinking about stuff, and Ray and Rao, yeah, and everyone else, right?
I will say, during the flashback parts, I was watching it 2 times speed. I never really do that, and I thought, well, this would be the fastest way to get through this, and I'll just stop and listen at normal speed when Durandal's talking or there's visual. When it gets to Kira's crying in front of the window at 2 times speed, it just sounds like somebody who stubbed like their shin on something. Ironic use of words there, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, because it's very much all the turns into that's all it is in 2 times speed. It's like, this is, I don't know. Maybe they did kick him in the nuts and then slowed it down to like 0.25 times.
Introduce the meme of that guy singing the clouds, like.
So in my mind, I actually went to the Peter Griffin, shin thing where he does it for like 5 minutes straight. The fact that Athrun and Lacus were being set up to be married indicates that they were a good match for having kids, as per the whole Durandal and Talia not being able to be together for the opposite of that reason.
Yeah. Although they're younger, wouldn't they be from a younger generation and therefore less likely to have kids?
That's the point.
Yeah.
That's the point, is that's how it's entirely necessary that the people of the 4th generation match up to people who could have kids.
Yeah.
Because that was what's brought up in a scene from season 1 that was not in the movie. Because I've stated plenty of times that there was no scenes in the movie between Patrick and Siegel. And that was one of the scenes, was them in a boardroom together after a meeting talking about the whole genetics problem. Like, the 4th generation people are not having kids.
Which is weird, because it is said that the naturals have more expertise on that area than the coordinators.
No, they say the naturals have more expertise in the extended than the coordinators. I mean, because that's what the coordinators didn't make the extended, so it just makes sense.
No, but I thought that basically the summon up was like they have more expertise in genetic manipulation overall, and not just the extended. That's what I got from that scene. I could be wrong, but that's what I understood.
I think you're wrong. So that doesn't make any sense, because it's 4 generations of coordinators that have been trying to solve their own genetic problem. So why would they have less experience than the naturals who don't want to fuck with coordinators?
I mean, I'm not saying that the naturals were working to solve the problem. I think that the overall
they kind of did. They tried to make a secondary slave race called the Extended, with which they have a lot more expertise in. All the coordinators can do is say, well, here's what we know of our own genetic research, which deals with our own genetic code. But these are extended, which you've modified and have added additional drugs to, so we kind of don't know anything about this. It'd be like if a Neanderthal suddenly came around and be like, oh, we don't know much about Neanderthal genetics, so...
I guess so.
I thought about trying to figure out Durandal's chessboard to see how he was doing in his match, but one of the shots of the board shows his king straddling 2 different squares. I mean, that legit makes no sense, so there's no ability to see if this chessboard is, like, properly laid out or what moves he's made or anything, when you've literally got a a king half on a black square, half on a white square. Now, that could be visual metaphor, which I might have a note for later, but it does nothing for me trying to figure out the chessboard.
I don't know. It's just... It might be a situation where there's a trope called, smart people play chess, right? Where you choose. Ugh, it's a choice from the writers, but you show someone being very smart by showing them playing chess. But it doesn't mean that the person who designed the scene or wrote it knew how to play chess, and therefore,
I think they did, because when I was looking at the scenes previous to that, they had their knight and their bishops in positions that only they could actually be in. It wasn't just randomly chosen, put pieces on the board. But no, I mean, visual metaphor for Durandal might be on playing both sides or that sort of thing. That's why it's straddling two things. It's not like it's, I don't know, maybe like a 10-second screen time appearance. But then they don't use the chessboard for, we're making clever moves that shows how smart we are. They just use it as a set piece because, Rao's ghost grabs a piece and has meaningless pieces on a chessboard. Blah, blah, blah. Let's see. Rao gives a little speech about how everyone eventually dies, and people always seem to forget that. And Durandal implies that even Rao tried his best to live forever, giving us the flashes of him with Durandal in the hallway, which is where Rey appears. So I'm pretty confident putting down that Rey is a clone of Rao.
I mean, we also see Durandal with literally a bottle. Well, yeah, a bottle of pills, which happens to be the same pills that Rao had to take.
Well, that doesn't do anything for the Rey being a clone of Rao. That just implies that he was around Rao, because Rao is the one who took those pills. But Rao has to take those pills because he was an imperfect clone. In Rey, we have never seen take those pills.
Yeah, or it could well be that the part about you try to live forever, which could have double meaning. You were using these pills so you can live longer, but also you clone yourself so you could live, through your clone, I suppose. Not directly, but, your progeny, having progeny.
Well, I mean, that's the definitions of forever, right? Some people consider their name to be them living forever. Your genes go on to live forever. Your kids are you, whatever. I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
No one thinks that Rao is Rey. I don't think. That would be That would be a different thing. That would be I guess the finality of consciousness. Like Star Trek example, right? Say I duplicate you in a transporter accident. Which consciousness is you?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not even the level of which you is the original you. It's which consciousness is you? Does your consciousness get doubled? I mean, then you can go on to animal intelligence, right? Does the animal have a consciousness? Does it have a soul? If you...
Yeah.
Is one of your duplicates the one with a consciousness, and the other one is like an animal intelligence, just acting as though it were a fully realized being?
Any subjects that I doubt very much this seed destiny will tackle correctly.
Oh, no, because it's not a thing. That's what I'm saying. The idea that Rao is Rey or Rey is Rao is not a thing. I think that's just something we were discussing for no reason.
Well, no, it's a vision of, like I said, a vision of immortality, that you leave your, progeny as an extension yourself, which is
that's what I'm saying. I'm agreeing with that sentiment. I'm thinking the Rao is Rey thing is just something we made up for the point of conversation. It's not a thing that anyone's discussing. The show is certainly not putting it out there. Not unless somebody opens up somebody's brain and does a transplant. Plenty of shows I've seen in the last year have been done doing that.
I mean, that was the whole thing about Ghost in the Shell, literally.
Well, Heavenly Delusion, it was the major plot point. That was the mystery behind everything. Turns out Jujutsu Kaisen has a character that's literally a brain that's living in somebody else's body. There was a show that we were watching. I can't remember which one now.
Across Frontier?
I don't think so. I think I remember that.
With Grace. whether she was inhabiting bodies and whether she was an individual or a collective inside that particular body.
Maybe. I don't think that's what I'm thinking of, though. Oh, I'm not remembering right now. Rao's advice to Durandal is the same advice Lacus gives Kigali.
Act, and then
just do it. Yeah,
just do it.
So clearly it's very neutral advice if both of the bad guys and the good guys are doing the same thing. If Talia left Durandal to have a kid with someone else, where's that kid? Hell, where's that other guy? I know I already went all in on Rey being a clone of Rao, but for the same crazy conspiracy theory and throwing everything at the wall before the show reveals its hand that I always do, what if Rey is Talia's son? She thinks he died. That's why we see Rey crying in a dark room when Rao comes to get him. He's just been all alone all this time, as he's been taken away for whatever Rao was planning. Also, when Talia joins the service, in grief from her loss. Just a conspiracy theory.
It makes perfect sense. I mean, they've always been hinting that she recognizes something in Rey. Like, there's sort of, every time they're in the same room, she kind of looks at him like, you look familiar. And we talked about that maybe there's a connection there, you know.
Well, I don't know, because Rey only gives the eyes to Durandal. True. But that would be a huge fuck you from Durandal, wouldn't it? Even though he's sleeping with her at the moment. Hey, I took your son and I made him my son, and I wouldn't even know you. Man, that would be My Hero Academia levels of fucked up.
Yeah. Next thing you know, you have to strap 2 giant grenades on your hands and go try to kill, whoever.
Oh, wrong character.
Oh, no, the ice, and he's the fire and ice character, sorry.
Oh, wrong character. The hero that trains All Might has a kid that she has to give up so that he will never be associated with her problems, so that they can't come after her family, sort of the situation.
Oh.
And he grows up hating her for having abandoned him, and then his kid turns into not the big bad. His kid turns into the major bad guy that the heroes fight through the entire show, who's molded by the big bad villain. So, the hero's grandson is the major villain due to having been abandoned or abandonment.
Yeah.
I don't know what Durandal's right path is exactly, but the way he's listing DNA components makes me wonder if he hasn't created Rey as a new type of coordinator. It seems like the initial problem was that coordinators were made in such a way that their ability to procreate broke down as new generations were born. Thus, the arranged marriages and such to ensure that new generations would continue on. Rao keeps talking about regret and not being able to go back, but we also see Durandal focused on his regret about not being able to be with Talia due to that inability to have children. This could be his answer to that past that he cannot correct, changing the future. I feel like there is something else there as well, something to do with the right path being something about how the original coordinators were looked at by the public and how it caused the animosity and hatred. It just feels like some of what he is saying is a path toward changing that as well. And I'll be honest, I had a much clearer thought about that, but halfway through typing this, it escaped me.
As it happens. Maybe, but I mean, we know that Rey has been traumatized. So whatever path he took, and Rey might be, whether Rey was abandoned in the whole mix-up of the war and all that, or before that with the coordinators and he got rescued, or he deliberately was put in this situation. We know that he was traumatized because of when he went to that lab and saw these things. He's just like, he shut down, like, he couldn't. People were like, yeah, this stuff is disgusting, but his reaction seems to be extreme and very specific, right? Everybody's pointing that out. Even the guy who puked it, guts out, saying that they're kids. Like, yeah. Even compared to my reaction, Ray's reaction is extreme. So I think we're setting up to another reveal like what happened with Kira and what's his name? Mula Flaga in the lab. Like, you're gonna have another scene where they actually go to the actual lab and they discover and go like, aha, this is what really happened, you know. And maybe Ray might be there and we're like, oh no, I remember, you know.
I mean, as we pointed out, we don't know what happened to the Hibikis.
Yeah.
Other than now seeing. No, actually, I don't remember. Sorry, I just remembering the last shot we saw of Hibikis was with Mulaflaga's dad again, which is the shot from season 1. So
yeah.
No reason to that then. How the hell did Amagi and the Orb personnel even get to the Archangel? We established before that the Archangel is difficult to find, and you basically need an insider to be able to contact them. Did they wave them down in their life rafts, and the Archangel decided to just stop in the middle of the battlefield to pick them up? Not for nothing, but we've got no evidence of them doing that before, but suddenly now? There's about 30 of them all crammed onto the bridge in one shot. Formerly enemy combatants that could have overwhelmed a ship filled with teenagers. It's an exceedingly dumb scene transition, regardless of the emotionality Tadaka's death expresses by it.
Yeah, the whole thing doesn't make sense. And Tadaka didn't... It seems like his Tadaka's second in command is saying that was the order that he gave to join the Archangel.
He did.
But Tadaka...
He did.
Yeah,
he told him that. They even he said it during the scene where he's getting them all off the bridge, and they flashed back to it during the episode where they're on the when they're
I
on
missed
the
it the first time. I guess I missed it because I was so concentrated on Yuna getting his ass kicked or being shuffled off that
anyone who's seen the reaction knows I didn't miss it. So I was going, this is fucking stupid. No, don't do that.
Yeah.
But no, that's again, it doesn't make any sense though, because they haven't picked up. It's never been implied that the Archangel has stopped on a battlefield before to pick up people that were floating in the water or injured or whatever. But then they suddenly stopped and decided to pick up life rafts with 30 people on them of people that they were just fighting. Literally people who just suicide bombed. Or no, they tried to kamikaze a different ship.
Yeah.
You know? Oh, let's bring those people on board. That's clearly the right answer. By the way, before you guys tell us what's going on, I want all 30 of you to crowd onto the bridge. Then we're going to have a conversation about what's happening. Because this is one of those scenes that must have happened. YouTube short scenarios where they all just get off of their life rafts, get on board the Archangel, slowly walk silently all to the bridge. Because that's the moment the conversation seems to start. Just right there where that scene starts.
It would have been more. It would have been more. My sense that okay, so they do rescue them. Okay, fine. They decided to do that, and then have a conversation on the landing bay or something. It's we're the Archangel. This is what we're doing. Kagali's with us. You can see Kagali's here. They're like, oh shit, Kagali. Okay. Who's gonna stay? Who's gonna leave? Some people leave. Some people stay. That I think would have made a little
funny
more
enough,
sense.
they did that in season 1 when everyone gets aboard the Archangel for the first time. They're there in the hangar having a conversation about who's going to be the captain.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just dumb. Again, it's 30 trained military personnel that you're inviting onto the bridge, and there's So I'm thinking about how to put this. There's one... No, actually, sorry. I was about to say there's one disabled guy, but no, he's up in space right now. So, literally, there's one middle-aged woman, let's say, and then a bunch of teenagers.
Also, who's to say that their skills at naval combat will be compatible with the ability to... Well, I guess if teenagers can run the ship, then I guess anybody can run the ship. So let's not think too much hard about that. But overall, it's oh yeah, we know how to run a carrier. It's yeah, but we're a spaceship.
I mean, at worst, I guess they all get conned when it turns out they all think in 2 dimensions all the time.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no, they think in 2.5 dimensions. Well, no, I guess fair enough. They have to always consider aircraft and submarines. So technically, they have no experience in I don't know,
microgravity and all that stuff.
Inertia. Sorry, inertia was the word.
Inertia.
Because inertia isn't the thing you have to super careful about with boats, or rather, it happens in a different way. A boat will drift for a certain time and then be slowed down by, I guess, friction with the water. I don't know what the word is I'm looking for.
Yeah, surface tension, yeah.
Yeah, versus, well, I don't know. Gravity has... They're completely different, is all I'm trying to get at.
Yeah. Not like you get, I want to take a puff of air and open a hatch. It's like, oh, space.
No smoking on the bridge.
Okay. They made that joke in the airplane too, in fact. But hey, let's go there.
You ever seen a grown man naked?
That's the original airplane, yeah.
It is a sad scene when Kigali breaks down and apologizes for the good people of Orb dying due to her lack of power, claiming that it's all her fault. But at the same time, objectively, she is responsible for a large part of this, in the way that we've discussed before, that she didn't use her authority that she had when it was available to her to change the trajectory of Orb's political affiliations while she was still in power. Of course, she only shoulders some of the blame. The Sirens, of course, are the ones whose intent made this happen. And of course, Kira, for removing Kigali from a position where she could have made a change, rather than being on the outside looking in.
Yeah. Well, I discussed that I think they're setting up a situation where she gets her mojo back. That this is, that the idea is that this is her arc, as she becomes a leader, right, of nations, not simply a leader on the battlefield, but leader of nations. Maybe, but seems like they could have introduced elements of that earlier.
I feel like that's going to have to be like a 15 episodes from now sort of thing, though, because it certainly doesn't seem earned if it does it out of the blue now, considering that she's tried to use her power of influence and her power of speech to literally change things on a battlefield, and it didn't work twice.
Yeah.
So clearly she hasn't learned the lesson yet, unless the lesson is people of Orb just love her and she's been talking to the wrong people.
I mean, she could make it appeal to a different crowd, but then that brings a possibility of violence in her own country, and possibly a civil war, right? Because yes, you appeal to the people, but the military has, the mechs, the giant.
You know
robots.
what? I'm going to jump forwards one of my comments because I feel like another thing addresses this. I feel like Amagi is the antithesis of Shin. His words about how they joined the Orb military because they believed in the nation's ideals. I feel like Shin would have a counterpoint about the civilians that didn't join the military having to pay the price for that idealism when the military fails to protect its people from the consequences of that very same idealism.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Although, well, maybe there's something happens in this episode or next episode, depending on what we saw in the next on, that may or may not change his mind. But,
Which one?
The fact that the person he handed over to the enemy might come back and return to the battlefield immediately. Yeah.
I was saying Shin or Amagi.
No.
Clearly, they're putting Amagi in the camp of the people that the show wants us to believe is right. So clearly, Amagi shouldn't change his mind.
No.
I appreciate that Kira acknowledges that they might be in the wrong Sorry, I must have been a 2 a.m. note or something. I appreciate that Kira acknowledges that they might be in the wrong alongside everyone else. As I keep mentioning, the dumbest part of Gundam 00, for me, was the concept of armed intervention to create world peace. That's what the Archangel has been up to in Destiny so far, just showing up and butting their heads into fights that they have no business in, forgetting for the moment that the parties involved have actual stakes beyond the call to just stop fighting. How many people are trapped in forced labor camps just praying that Zaft shows up to free them, that the Archangel crew are actively hindering?
Or, if you really want to be effective, you use that to undermine the Earth Federation, right? It's like, look, we're going to help. We're not here to fight a war. We're here to free people and defend them, which is what Zaft is doing.
Well, so Athrun has kind of indicated that to Kira, and Kira's like, you're making Kigali cry. I have to fight you now.
Yeah.
Which is the dumbest shit. the guy who people in the comments keep saying is a pacifist, literally said, "I don't like your words. Let's fight."
Yeah. It's all over the place.
If there is any possibility that Durandal and Gibril are on the same side, then it could be possible that Durandal created the Extended in an attempt to create those new type of coordinators I was referring to before. I know the argument is that the super racists would never work with the coordinators, but they are making their own version of coordinators as it is. Who's to say they didn't Operation Paperclip themselves an expert?
I suppose.
Could also answer what happened to the Hibikis. Operation Paperclip. I mean, the Hibikis were naturals as far as we know. So, well, they had to have been, because Kigali's a natural, according to what people tell us. Even though she's got seed, then she would have been born from a natural.
I mean, yes. It's just that, it bumps into the what I call the Palpatine problem of somebody being so controlling that, in essence, they shouldn't have been a war in the first place, because he's just at any moment going like, "Oh, you stop, you do this, you know."
Well, no, that
how much control does Durandal has or knowledge therein, right?
Well, no, the thing is that they are in so much control, but the problem is that they created the situation. The methodology of their control is the methodology of their problem. Their control is based on, we created racism to sell weapons, and now people won't stop fighting. But that's also how we're maintaining control, because we have control over the fighting.
Oh, the weapons.
Yeah, they're in a loop. They're in an infinite loop of now we've gotten everything we wanted. We're in control. People have no chance to do anything we don't tell them to, except we can't get out of this thing where we're going to kill ourselves if we don't get out of this. You know, it's like I'm going to give you 3 genie's wishes, but the 3rd wish will kill you, and you're on wish 2, like, ooh, set myself up here. How do I get out of this?
Don't make the 3rd wish, I guess. At least not for yourself, because you're gonna die anyway. So
there's a YouTube channel I always think back to where the guy's first wish is to find the monkey's paw in every wish. So then he just starts asking the genie, "Well, what if I wish for this?" "Oh, well, this is how I'd get you." And then he just wishes too quickly is the problem. I really should have thought about this for longer. There was no time limit. Why did I?
Got greedy. Literally.
That's the way it works. The flashback to Kira's speech about Kigali crying and his argument about Atherin's implication that the fighting can't be helped. The thing that caused Kira to attack Atherin for what he was saying, the bullshit writing that was. It makes me wonder what the death count would be on Kira's inaction, or even counteraction, versus the war playing out as it is. How many people get worked to death, suffer under oppression, are forced into these combats until zaft, and I only say this as it seems fairly clear that they are winning, in both hearts and minds, liberates people from either the Earth Federation or their own lives on the battlefield. Beyond that, what is the price on human suffering? Those people that aren't dying, but are certainly living lives of pain. Kira actively participates in preventing their liberation, while adding nothing to lessen that pain. That is the issue with showing us that scene where Shin saved those people, and implying that sort of thing is happening across the globe. It makes Kira's position that much stupider.
I mean, Shin does it twice, in a way, because helping that town that was under the command, had in the back of the town have the big cannon, not only destroyed the gun, but destroyed the Federation forces that were there. And so the town got liberated. And then there was I'm going to attack this random base that Joe shut up, and I'm going to literally rip apart the destroy the facility, kill the oppressors, and rip apart the fences that keeping people bound, to be in cage, right? Oh, they actually does it twice.
Right, but not my point.
No, but the point is that Shin is, in many ways, Shin is doing more good, at least in the short term, than Kira is. I think it's one of your points.
Kira,
Right?
Kira has the point about if they do nothing, then the worst case happens. And
because I think he's already seen the worst case happen. Yeah.
Right, but Kira's action adds nothing. Literally, he's prolonging the suffering of people whose situation isn't being changed by preventing the people who are taking good action. Now, granted, they're killing people in the Earth Federation to make that action change, but Kira is actively preventing that change from happening and thus prolonging the suffering of people who are suffering. So Kira is, in action, making the world a worse place. That's why I'm saying I wonder what the death count would be if Kira didn't act versus where it would. It's the whole Lacus thing, right? Take an action and go that path. Maybe you went down the wrong path, and oh man, this goes back to the Fates episode where you can't change the path that you're on, and the other path not taken might as well not exist. I'm just saying that Kira is a worse character for them showing us what Shin helped people before.
Yeah, it's all over the place. It's very much characterization to fit the plot, right? We want to have this confrontation between Eastern and Kira because, like, old friends meeting up against in the battlefield. He's protecting his twin sister. He's supposed to be in love with her and has a promise, but he has to walk away because of, he made a promise to Randall. Yeah, that's what they're setting up, but it just comes up as dumb.
I don't have that much of a problem with Shin bringing Stella back to Neo, at least from a narrative perspective. Stella is dying. He doesn't want that to happen. She's tugging on his heartstrings, reminding him that he promised to protect her, and he's hearing the higher-ups' plans for her. Stella doesn't have any inside information about the ship or its crew that the Federation itself hasn't just experienced multiple times. Sending her back gives them nothing but one more pilot, and pointedly, no Gundam to pilot anyway. Shin put himself at risk, possibly walking into a trap that could have cost them the impulse, and that would have been bad, but at the very least I understood why he did it. At the same time, I fully expect consequences for his actions as well. These are just matters that are less fate of the world and more about the lives of two people.
Yeah. And so that's another problem I'm having with Seed Destiny, is that essentially it's trying to be two things. It's trying to be a direct sequel to Seed. So we still have all those characters, but on top of that, it's supposed to be its own story with new characters. And I think this, one of the reasons why it comes up as being so convoluted in many ways, it doesn't work, is that if they had just concentrated on one or the other, right? If this was simply season 2 of the same story, no problem. Or it's a new show based on what happened before with new characters. But we had Chin doing one thing and Kira doing another thing. And I think we get introduced to Chin being like supposed to be the main character. But aside from a couple of things he does, he's just like tertiary character at most, right? Other people are more important than him. Even Luna Maria is more important than him. Ray is more important than him. Kira comes back and he's now more important than him. Athlon has come back and he's more important.
I don't think Kira's more important than Shin. Even screen time, I think Shin gets more screen time. That's just pointedly is what I mean. Screen time, I think Shin gets more of it. I will agree. I think the problem is that they're writing too much stuff for too little time used, especially when some of that time has been used for repeated flashbacks. They're not exploring the space with what they can use. I tell you what I'm getting a fear for is that this is what Gundam Zeta or Double Z is going to be like, considering that that's supposed to happen right after 79. It's like, this is heavily inspired by Universal Century. Is this their Cliff Notes version of Zeta?
Yeah. or double Z. Yeah.
Well, I just know those are back to back. I don't know anything about them other than I've heard Double Z sucks. So
I'm
waiting to walk into that one.
But no opinion either way.
But also, you know things, so can't spoil. My last thought here is it's going to really suck if Extended have a built-in shorter lifespan and Stella was never going to survive regardless.
Would make sense, though. Because the whole idea, I've been saying this, that the whole problem that Blue Cosmos ultimately has, because these are people of power and influence, I mean, especially logos, it's not that coordinators exist, it's that they can't control them. The idea that these people have gotten out of their control and therefore are challenged to their power, that's what they hate.
So they've already got built-in stuff, though. The mind control, the keywords.
Yeah.
Just a built-in shorter lifespan would be another thing if it's real.
So I guess those chambers not only erase their memories, but also, or manipulate their memories, but also sort of regulate their bodies in order for them to live longer, right?
No clue. I mean, that's the thing I made up. I made up the thing about them. I'm saying it'd be a shame if Stella just died anyway because of that sort of thing. Because it kind of looks like she's breaking down without the chemicals put into her.
Yeah.
But that might be a by design thing.
Although, to be perfectly honest, it's not a thing. It works up to a point with Phantom Pain, right? A small elite unit of these specialists, but this whole process to be replicated in a large manner, to have like an entire army of these guys.
Look how many tubes there were in that facility. They were ramped up to make a lot of people.
Yeah, but the fact that they have to go back to the chambers, have to take the drugs, and they have to do this, that seems to be a very prolonged process that takes a lot of energy and time.
I would argue it's comparable to Impulse. They made Minerva for the Impulse, which is one battleship for one Gundam. So Phantom Pain having to drag around 3 chambers for 3 people is already 3 times the value that Minerva gets. Well, I mean, I'd still have some... Sorry, go ahead.
But compared to the coordinators, which they already know how to make in large numbers, right? Replicating, and the feeling is I think they had a lot of them because they were experimenting to get to the point of the Extended. Each Extended requires a lot of resources to be made individually.
Right, but they're coordinators that you have control over.
Yeah, but I don't think
it's
you can
scale it up, right? It's like some sort of weird BattleTech, a time of war disadvantage system.
Yeah.
You could have coordinator powers, but here's your list of disadvantages.
Yeah, it feels like at best you can't scale it beyond what you see with Phantom Pain, right? Good for small elite units like this, but not in the thousands of millions.
Sure, like their personal faith, except it's the opposite of faith in that these people have less ability to control their lives.
No, but I mean the creation, having the chambers.
No, I'm agreeing with you in a way, but I'm saying it's the opposite side of it. Faith is a group of elite soldiers who can do whatever the fuck they want. The Extended are a group of elite soldiers that can do only what they're told or remember to do.
Yeah, that sense, I get the contraposition. Comparison. Just keep it a comparison. Keep it a simple word.
God, you were so close to the word. Now the word's almost in my head. Oh, it's a C word. You were like right there. It's contrast.
Yeah,
contrast. I guess contrast. I don't think that's the word I was going for, but now it's the word on my mind is settled on. The contrasting views of the 2 different groups. Anyway, those are all my thoughts. Did any occur to you while we were going through this that you'd want to go over?
Not really, because there's so much. I mean, I am fascinated with one thing. Where is Captain Gladys? They say Talia, but it's Talia Gladys. That's so I say Captain Gladys' last name. Where do her loyalties really lie? Because she was willing to abandon Durandal just to have a baby, right? That, and now she's a faith member.
Well, that's a younger
Charge the
Durandal.
ship.
That's pre-politics Durandal, I would assume.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that, because he also has that personal connection. He might go like, I'm not going to put it. If she finds out something about, like, maybe, he stole my baby or something because Ray happens to be his kid. You're like, well, fuck you then. I'm getting the fuck out of here, right? I'm not going to do my own thing, right? I think they're setting it up for like, you know what? Fuck you. I'm going to do my own thing, right?
I don't see that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't also see the question about where her allegiance lies either, because she seems to be in the loop.
Does she know about the whole thing with Ray? She doesn't seem to.
I mean, that's just one of my conspiracy theories. I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no fucking idea. I mean, when it comes to her and what you're bringing up about the whole she left Durandal thing, I think back to that one character from Starship Troopers. Well, why did you sign up for the service? I want to have a baby. Just things that you have to do if you want to become a mother. And in this universe, it's you have to be assigned a genetic match. So if you had like a relationship before this, you don't have it now.
I mean, technically speaking, you could keep the relationship if you only want a genetic match. Yeah. If it's all about having a baby, then
well, because it also feels like the future of the not the civilization, the future of the culture. You don't want to have a baby raised in a surrogate situation. You want a baby raised in a household sort of situation.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're going to start a standard for family, what a family structure is, and, focus on the family is going to have a real problem with this one.
Yeah, no, but I mean, she could have been a single mother if it's just she wanted to have a baby, I guess.
What I'm saying is I think that they're implying that there is a certain family structure that when you get assigned this sort of stuff, you have to then follow.
That makes the government and the situation in the planets a little problematic for me. Because you're assigned a family. And who used to do that? Forcing people to get married due to perceived genetic,
Does it start with the C? To the Chinese?
No, starts with an N.
Oh, actually, I was actually thinking about the Chinese.
No, the Chinese were limiting the number of children that you had. There's a one child policy. This is, we want you to have children. Go marry that guy. You're like, but I don't gotta marry him. That's the only way you're gonna have kids. You gotta go have a marriage. Like, yeah. Let's say that before 1945, a lot of Nordic countries didn't have as many blue-eyed children as you would like to think.
I think eugenics existed before 1945.
Yeah, but
also,
I mean, the tendency.
1940. Yeah, I guess you're saying the year after the. Okay, 9 months, I guess. Anyway, anything else?
No, that will be it.
All right. Well, of course, now we have comments, which is always Fenrir756. First one here from the Patreon, from the episode Fates. Here are my comments for this episode. Also, all of my comments are specifically in response to things that are discussed or are prompted by statements made with occasional additions of my own perspective or questions I find interesting here or there, but I try to separate those out from my general statements about the show. I feel like Fenrir is often trying to protect themselves from the "I'm not giving spoilers, the show is saying this stuff."
Yeah.
But ultimately, again, I am always the final arbiter on what is and was not a spoiler. I did not say what definitive statement I hoped Theta would retract when proven wrong, because that would spoil events that will occur in the future, so I kept it vague intentionally. I will call out the statement more specifically once I believe the show demonstrates it to be false.
Thank you, Fenrir. Appreciate that.
Yeah, go figure that I often say things that I later don't believe in, or find exceptions.
Yeah.
Kind of like I'm able to hold two dissonant thoughts in my head at the same time, as is the human ability to think. I don't know. Anyway, Tadaka knew that by losing the Orb Force's flagship, that any surviving Orb Forces would either join the Archangel and protect Gali and Orb's ideals, or would be forced to return to Orb, withdrawing Orb from the current war, at least for now.
How he knew that? Exactly.
Well, I guess he's like the main admiral, because I assume he only reports to Yuna, it seems like. So he would know the disposition of Orb forces across the globe. So he would know what would happen if they lost their flagship.
I mean, yeah.
Also,
that's
he literally told
aspect.
Amagi to join Archangel. So
See, that's more exciting. But it's like, oh, he only have these choices. Like they could just be picked up by Earth forces, who are their allies, and put to join their forces and fight for them. Continue to fight for them, right? Warm bodies. If they can crew the Archangel, they can crew other ships, right?
yeah, press gained into an Earth forces ship, unless, I don't know, Earth forces ships work on proprietary technology and they won't let them serve on those ships.
Oh, but they also, by the way,
But
also
hey, we
brought
got
their
plenty
own.
of work camps.
Yeah, and also they brought their own mechs too. They brought their own mobile suits. Because you see the mobile suits in the Archangel hold, like 5 or 6 of them. So it wasn't just guys in rafts. It was pilots who also joined the Archangel.
I don't know where withdrawing Orb from the current war, at least for now, comes from now. This is literally an expeditionary fleet. It's not your main fleet. Shin has no idea who Kira is, and he only recognizes the freedom as a result of the reputation it obtained in the last war for its destructive power and how its pilot is known to be an incredibly skilled pilot.
Oh, okay.
I mean, we've already covered that Shin doesn't know who Kira is, but he knows what the freedom is. I mean, not even by reputation. He was there. As I've stated many times, in my opinion, as apparently it is only opinion, he killed his family. Literally, the thing is flying right there. The beams go out. The explosion happens right where the beams are fired. And that's the explosion that killed his family. I think he'd recognize the Gundam that killed his family. He doesn't recognize Kira. He didn't know, so far there hasn't been a Gundam where the Gundam's entirely transparent. So we can't see the guy. Be a thought, though, Bandai.
Although, is he in the same radio frequency as Arthur? And as Arthur is like, Kira, stop! It's like...
It's up in the air. I've brought this up as a joke many times. Everyone seems to be responding to everyone. Like, literally, the Earth Forces guys were having an internal debate on the bridge, and then Ramius is like, oh, hold on a sec. Because they're like, should we attack? Hold on a sec. Go back to the Earth Forces bridge. It's like, really fucking hear them. What's going on? The plants have very specific regulations that govern who is permitted by whom. Sorry. Very specific regulations that govern who is permitted whom by restricting marriage between coordinators to those with high genetic compatibility for producing children. This is why Talia couldn't stay with Durandal if she wanted to have a child, because they could not get married due to perceived genetic incompatibility. It's interesting to note that when looking at Durandal's eyes when he was together with Talia and during the Rao flashbacks that they were much larger, I believe meant to potentially signify he was more innocent and less jaded/cynical than he might currently be. I wonder what events in his past could have catalyzed such a change in him.
Also, the thing I said earlier is that I do have a problem that if you're talking about having children that are compatible, I have no problem with that. I mean, people can choose to be where they are. It's like forcing people to be in a marriage. That's kind of
again, it's the issue of survival of the civilization or the species, if you consider them to be a new species. Coordinators is that you have to have people with genetic compatibility, otherwise you're not having kids. In which case, you're doing the was it Quaker? Was it? Yeah, I think it was Quakers. The thing, Quakers didn't believe in sex to the point where they weren't having kids, so they call entire Quakers kind of, went the way of not having kids.
I don't have a problem having the kids.
No, I understand. I wasn't done. It was your idea of what a social norm is, and when you legalize social norms into becoming the policy of the state, then it becomes a completely different thing. But then again, that's what I was pointing out before. The idea that maybe this is just the establishment of state-ordained family units. But maybe if that is no, I wouldn't say coordinator society. If that's plant society, then maybe that's what it's been for like 4 generations now. But if you don't like that, I guess go be a coordinator in Orb. But oh wait, I mean that's the benefit of having established multicultural areas. But unfortunately, we blew one up, and then we blew the other one up to the point where they don't want us there anymore. Or actually, the other one got blown up and then got taken over by racists who don't want us there anymore. We didn't blow it up. We actually offered to help, but they said, no, thank you. I thought I addressed this in a prior comment, but coordinators are not born from pods, aka artificial wombs normally. Coordinators are typically born from their mother's body, and the gene-altering procedure occurs while the child is in the womb. The only coordinators to have been removed from his mother's body and born from a pod was Yamato, and the only reason for attempting this is because in the seed universe, the mother's body interferes with the genetic manipulation procedure, preventing all the desired attributes from either fully manifesting or manifesting at all in some cases. In seed, there was the line about the baby's eyes being the wrong color. Yamato was the ultimate coordinator because he was the only one to survive being born from the artificial womb, with all the genetic enhancements that he was meant to receive being fully realized.
So they could have done that to Rey, too. I mean, they could have
done it. Well,
the baby.
I would argue they could have done that to anybody, but the idea being that all of those tubes full of dead people that were dead fetuses that were in that chamber when we saw Mu and Rao and Kira there implies that Kira is the 1 in a million, because the number of test subjects on there was like 5-6 digits long. So I don't know.
But I thought that I wasn't sure whether or not it was actually natural, that it had to be naturally born, because if that's the case, I guess that's what makes forced families more viable, because people rally. I guess they grow an attachment to the child, and so they create a family. Because that's the thing. It's like, I see, oh, you have to have this person who is your genetic match. Okay, fine, but I don't care about this person, and you're going to put me in a marriage, and we're going to try to raise a child or children together. I can see a lot of messed up families like that. It's like,
I don't get the implication that you're saying that the people who have artificial womb babies don't care about their babies.
No, I'm talking about.
You'd have to care about
forced marriage.
More.
I'm talking about the forced marriage. Because ironically, with the artificial womb, it could be a couple who wants to have a child, can have a child, and they go to the artificial womb. I get that. They actually want to have a child. I have the problem with you have to marry this person because you're genetically compatible. Well, I don't care about this person. Oh, you want to have a baby. That's
it's not because you're genetically compatible. It's because you want to have a kid. The intent still has to be there. They're not marrying off people who don't want to have kids, apparently. She really wanted a kid more than she wanted to be with Durandal. So she left Durandal to have a kid. So, again, it's like what I was talking about with Starship Troopers. That character in Starship Troopers really wanted to have a kid. So, time to go into military service so that you can be licensed to have a kid. Or whatever. No, it's not licensed to have a kid. It's only citizens can have kids.
Yeah.
And to be a citizen, you have to go through your term of military service. In this case, she really wants a kid. She's going to go through her term of being married to this random guy who weirdly stands behind pillars and watches you talk to your lover as you leave them behind.
Yeah.
Again, what happens to that
breakup,
guy?
Yeah.
Unless that's the guy who's been watching the Minerva at every port, the weird bearded guy can't let Talia go.
Yes.
I would also indicate that this indicates that Kigali could be a coordinator. If Kira was put into the pod and he comes from the same womb, that might have had the same stuff done. That explains why Kigali would have the seed powers and then would also thus be a coordinator as well.
I mean, but I think the implication that Fenrir is saying is that it's less likely to take because the mother's interaction with the child.
No, that was the flashback thing that we got in season 1.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sorry, just also the beginning I thought I addressed this in a prior comment. Okay, snobby. Rao had a very philosophical justification for why he was the only one in... Sorry, I'm going to start that again. Rao had a very philosophical justification for why he was the only one with the right to end humanity. Rao was never meant to be born as his own person, but was only meant to be a new Al Deflaga, through whom the original Al Deflaga would be able to essentially live through and cheat death. Rao views himself as the end result of humanity's endless quest for progress and improvement personified. And it is because of this that he has the right to judge whether humanity deserves to survive or not based on what was born from that pursuit. But you're too late, Moo. You see, I am the product of this. That's how I know. Rao is often viewed as a nihilist, but he does not think that human life has no meaning. In reality, he believes that humanity's quest for progress has not changed humanity for the better, and has only brought darkness and evil into the world, and will consume humanity regardless of what it does. You shouldn't blame me. This is mankind's dream, mankind's desire, mankind's destiny. I don't remember how he says this, so I'm just gonna read it. To be the strongest, to go furthest, to climb the highest, to compete, to envy, to hate each other, and devour one another. I know that humanity will be swallowed by the darkness that it has created. This is also why he despises Kira's existence so much, because he believes if humanity as a whole learned that it was possible for future humans to become ultimate coordinators like Kira, people would want to be like him, and that would bring only more pain, hatred, and darkness into the world. You're something that shouldn't have been allowed to exist, boy. If people learned of your existence, they would want to be just as you are. They would want to become like you, and that's the reason why your existence cannot be allowed. That is a horrible quote, by the way. It starts with the statement, it says little more, and then says the statement again. Here's my problem with Rao, and the problem I had while I was making the notes before. There's a last sentence here. I'll get to it in a second. When I was listening to Rao talk, Rao says a lot of words that mean nothing. Like,
Yeah.
there's not like a philosophical anything to it. Rao will just make statements about nothing. Like, if you could just say words and have them be air, that's Rao. People are bad. Words. People are bad.
Yeah, I mean, Rao basically is someone who is jaded. He's someone who was, I mean, he killed his progenitor, to put it that way.
Well, here, actually, hold on a second, because it sounds like you're getting into thoughts. Sounds like you're getting into thoughts, and I have like 2 more sentences to read here. Sorry. Personally, I find Rao to be the most interesting Char clone in Gundam due to his very philosophical nature and the fact that his conclusions are born from everything he has witnessed in his life. Note, quotes are from the SD English sub of Gundam Seed, but if I recall correctly, the lines are almost identical to the English subtitles. Go.
Okay. This is a phenomenon I see a lot. People confuse what seems to be high-minded language, the destiny of mankind and all that, and say, oh, this must be philosophical. No, he's a genocidal maniac who resents the fact that he was born a clone and he has a short lifespan. That's who he is. He wants to kill everybody because he can't survive. He's doomed to death in the shadow of a much more powerful man. And so he wants to essentially take revenge on humanity as a whole. That's the way I see it. I can't live.
Who's your much more powerful man? Is Kira? Is that what you're saying?
Powerful societal one. I'm talking about. Ow.
Okay, I thought you were indicating towards somebody. I was like, who is that much more powerful man?
Also reflected at his, also reflected in the fact that Mu is also, a naturally gifted pilot that can do all these things, right? He's envious. He's envious of his father who screwed him over. I don't say father, progenitor, who created him for his own whim. He's jealous and hateful of his brother / son who can match him without, being a natural.
Never going to follow your family trees, by the way. If you start doing little concept board family trees, brother, son, that's what happens when you have cloning.
When you do start cloning people, that's where, or uncle, I think, would be more like uncle.
I mean, technically, he's of the same generation as Mu.
Yeah, and so he uses a lot of pretty words, but at the end of the day, he just wants to kill everybody. Like, oh, humanity is going to fail. Are you showing a better way for humanity? No, he just decided that everybody has to die.
Well, but I mean, pointedly, he's inspired Durandal to find a better way, where he himself did not.
Yeah, he's someone who's like, I'm going down. I basically the way I see his Neo is I'm going down and I'm going to take everybody with me. I'm going to die and everybody has to die with me. It's the closest philosophical aspect to it is the idea of the end of history. We reach a point where you cannot go any further. And I think he's himself as sort of the end of history, right? Where Kira possibly could be the continuation in a way, Kira is much better than he is, right? He's a clone. He's a rich man's clone who is sick and is dying and needs medicine to just survive. Here's Kira, who seems to be perfect, made by the same man that made him to be much better. And that means he has no place he's someone who had no place in the world that his progenitor built, because he was simply meant to be a continuation of him. And he would have no place in a world where you have super coordinators if Kira can actually reproduce and fix all the problems the coordinators have, right? It's like, well, I don't have a place in this world, so fuck you all. You are gonna die.
I mean, to be fair, even if he wasn't full on same as everybody else, he did outsmart a lot of them. So at some point, it's your
he's not dumb though, but
that's what I'm saying. At some point, it's your less than normal person who turns out to be the puppet master behind everybody else.
Yeah.
But I would also say that philosophy discussions, again, most of his words are flowery without meaning. Like,
yeah.
Again, his first statement is his statement of fact, and then a bunch of flowery terms which don't add to what he's saying at all, and then he'll just repeat it again. When I think of philosophical Gundam characters, I go to like Trace Kushranada, who both says a lot and is flowery, but also every statement of his is a matter of like, this is what our civilization is like, this is what our culture is like, this is why people have failed in the past, this is why we will succeed in the future. The man gives fucking speeches all throughout Gundam Wing, and all of them are poignant.
He has a philosophy is not simply a statement. A philosophy is an argument. And I don't really believe... I think the problem is with damn it. This character. I'm blanking on it because there's two characters that look the same. I'm thinking of Neo, which
is kind of have like 4 characters that look the same now.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about this in this series. His problem is that he is not
Durandal.
Ray. Not Durandal.
Well, those are the only characters that are on this series that aren't in the other one.
No, I'm talking about in Seed, general.
Well, I mean, we think Neo is a different guy, so...
Yeah, we're talking about this person. Damn it, I just blanked out on his
if you're
name.
talking about Mu, and Neo turns out to be Mu, then we're talking about a guy who's in both series.
No, I'm not talking about Mu. I'm talking about the clone.
Of Aldeflaga?
Yeah.
Rao,
that's the name.
Rao
I just
the
blanked out on his name. Rao the Crest. Rao says a lot. He's already convinced of his argument, and he seems that it's so blatantly obvious that everybody would agree with it. It's like, oh, this is just the way it's gonna be. Like, but you're not making an argument. You're not trying to convince me. You're just making a statement. Like, oh, the world is fucked up. Yeah, I know that. Everybody who's born in the world and grows in the world says that the world is fucked up, unless they're the beneficiaries of the riches of the world, in which case everyone else is fucked up. Thank you for stating the obvious.
I'll imagine listening to Rao's, from the Fates episode, Rao's little speech about all of this, without the context of the flashbacks that are going by, because it's just him saying stuff to you straight on. Like, watch the Fates episode where it's Rao talking to Durandal on the couch, and he's saying all this stuff about fate and what you can and can't change, but then cut out all the middle bits between his little speech segments of Kira and Lacus and Kigali, and just close your eyes and listen to him, and it's just like, yeah, fucking what? This is your friend who got high and won't shut the fuck up.
Yeah. So I've seen this that people are like, oh, this sounds profound. It is as wide as an ocean and as deep as a puddle.
Towards the end of the episode, when Durandal is discussing his intention to create a new path for humanity, he references the 4 nucleotide bases of DNA, so it appears that whatever his plan is either is based on or uses DNA as one of its key foundations.
Is he going to do an X-Men 1 where he's going to turn everybody into mutants? I mean, coordinators?
Well, 1, that didn't work in X-Men 1 because the Senator turns into water. 2, that's also why I brought up the whole thing about him creating a new type of coordinator. Because I didn't make a note about the whole DNA thing, but that's why I looked it up. And because also when he's saying that, there's like what appears to be a baby ray on a thing with like diodes and whatnot.
Yeah.
With regards to whether Kigali had the unilateral power to prevent Orb from joining the Earth forces, I think it's completely fair to believe either possibility.
Okay.
What I'm going to do here, so I'm just going to copy and paste this to you. Otherwise, for those of you in the audience, you're going to see what Fenrir is talking about in the scrolling thing that I usually put on the videos. That you can go ahead and peruse that, and I'm going to move forwards.
Uh-huh.
And at any point, if you see anything in that you want to jump back on. But otherwise, I'm moving on to the next comment, which is Fenrir756 still, from the Patreon, from the episode A Fleeting Dream. At the end of episode 28, right after Tadaka is killed and the orb carrier sinks, there is a shot of the orb soldiers who left the carrier all in lifeboats and saluting Tadaka.
Okay.
Well, I can see where this is falling apart as a thought. Much like most people, you have the inability to read and listen.
I'm concentrating on reading, so no, yeah.
Well, it's just a statement of fact anyways, because...
just I heard that's what they did. So you want me to comment on something
Once
they
again,
did?
Fenrir, you don't have to tell us stuff that just happened. I mean, unless it's like super important, like, oh man, you guys missed it when Hall slid a knife into her boot. That's gonna be real important later, so you guys gotta see that. Well, actually, don't tell us that either, because that would spoil shit. It's like, just don't do that until until the thing happens later and you're trying to prove us wrong. Then mention that.
Next point.
Well, no, if you're reading, I'm gonna wait because this is like.
I'm done.
Okay, do you have anything to say?
I mean, I guess it's good that he puts examples here, which we talked about before, of whether Kigali really or didn't have the power. The one I think I would agree the most says episode 11 has Juna declared to Kigali. The second point. I don't know why I was reading that one because I guess Juna. I just hate Juna so much.
There's 2 number 1 points that I'm now seeing.
Yeah,
they go 1, 1, 2, 3 for some reason.
Yeah. Earlier in the episode 11, Warfield warning the Minerva, he says that once the drop begins, Orb will likely run an agreement to join the Atlantic Federation Alliance. Although Representative Katha, Kigali, is doing her best to stop it. I believe this specifically implies that there are ways for the Syrians and other ministers to force the agreement through, regardless of Kigali's position, similar to how Congress can override a presidential veto with 2/3 vote in both of the House and the Senate.
But again, as we already indicated, we have no idea how the Orb government works, so they might not even have a House or a Senate or technically a president, considering the fact that they have a chief representative with a council of representatives also involved. So, yeah. Also, this is Waltfield from the outside hypothesizing.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, so, I mean, well, I've already stated my opinion. This is a response to my previous opinion, which hasn't changed. Because for me, it's the evidence of what's presented in the scenes Kigali is present and interacting with the government in, and not from the outside of people hypothesizing. Because remember, Waldfield is from zaft. This is like somebody in France estimating what the president's going to do in the United States.
I mean, there is one example of what happened inside, which is about Yuna. Episode 11 has Yuna declared to Kigali, we will enter the alliance treaty with the Atlantic Federation so that we don't repeat the tragedy of burning our nation. After which Kigali looks around at the other ministers and eventually hangs her head in defeat. But she never makes an explicit statement or says anything to indicate that she will provide her support or approval for joining.
That's an argument about context. That's the same scene where Yuna says, stop being stupid. This is Yuna bullying a person who then looks around for help because she's being bullied. That does not have a measure, in my opinion, that does not have a measure to do with how the government works. That is a personal interaction between two characters. One of my comments last episode about how Atherin's skill as a mobile suit pilot has degraded was in part meant to be a primer for what Shin says to Luna Maria about Atherin this episode about Atherin not being really that strong. Shin is certainly being a bit cocky here, but I believe he is also meant to be essentially telling us that Atherin has not been doing anything really special as a pilot in Destiny ever since he joined the Minerva. Remember, Shin is the once who, I guess it means one who has been tearing through Mook mobile suits, eviscerating ships, and ultimately defeating the Gaia and the Abyss. The closest we've gotten to Atherin showing significant skills is by his disabling of that legged mobile suit / armor hybrid with the shield during the Longhorn Cannon Run episode. Otherwise, he is essentially shown disabling the weapons of Mook mobile suits or being completely unable to cause any damage to the Chaos when fighting one-on-one when he was previously able to damage it in a Zaku at Jaina 7 during the Break the World incident.
I guess so.
You guess so what?
I guess he has a point, but not by much of a point. Again, I think it's more focus. He's not supposed to be the main character here. I don't know. I guess Jin is supposed to be the main character, so if Jin doesn't look like he's a badass in his own show, then, what's the point of having him there, right?
Well, I mean, the argument here is that Atherin's weaker because he's, disabling people instead of killing them. But that's the lessons that Atherin learned in the first season. He's not weaker.
Yeah.
He's doing shit on purpose. Whereas Shin hasn't learned that lesson, and Atherin and, what do they call him? Heimerdinger, I can't remember his name. Heimendall? No, that's a guy from something else.
What film? Kira?
No, it starts with an H. The dude we make fun of. Heinz guy.
Gundam? Heinz,
Stop him on the butt. I can't remember his name.
Hein,
right. Who died, kind of also get the same message about what do you fight for. But that was towards Atherin. These are messages that Shin hasn't gotten yet, so Shin's going out and attacking and killing people, which I think to your own previous argument, not you, Finrir, has been to Shin's negative, that Shin is an emotional powder keg, whereas Atherin is contained. So Atherin isn't weaker, Atherin is restraining himself.
I mean, the thing is that we're shown how, for example, Kira is such a great pilot because he's able to disable half a dozen enemies with a single shot, right? And consistently does so. So after doing the same, kind of shows that he's pretty good at it too, right?
Well, also Kira has the overpowered mobile suit that can take on 16 shots at the same time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And also, I don't think the example of what Atherin does at the Break the World incident is a good example, because that's literally a do or die moment for the entire world. Whereas the fights that he gets to on Earth are operational at scale. So he might be more willing to kill a Zaku pilot when it comes down to saving the entire Earth. While I agree with Shin trying to get Neo to promise not to involve Stella in any more battles is a nice thing, it's incredibly stupid and short-sighted of him to believe that Neo is even in a position to keep such a promise even if he wanted to. There is no way Phantom Pain would bother expending the resources necessary to keep Stella alive if they didn't intend to use her to fight. While I find it frustrating, I do find it completely in character for Shin. Shin never really takes the time to think things through, and acts primarily on impulse, get it, and whatever his current emotional state is. So him doing whatever it takes to save Stella without thinking it through makes complete sense.
I agree on all points. I was the one who pointed out that, yeah, that was kind of stupid. She might die, but there's no guarantee they're not going to put it back in the roster. There's no reason for Neo to keep his word either. I mean, we know that he cares about them in a way, but
well,
he's also
going to argue
orders.
that I think, well, one, I don't have no idea if Neo has the ability to keep such a promise. He could, like, literally put her back in the pods, tell the doctors to heal her, and then fuck off. Like, there's no telling. Because again, we don't really know who Neo is. If he is Mu, as the opening seems to suggest, where the fuck did Mu come back from? Like, there's too much questions floating around there to know what possible control Mu has, other than the fact he gets shit on by Jibril. So,
why would he be working with Blue Cosmos, right? Mulafaga never seemed to be a racist.
Well, technically, Mu was working for the Earth Alliance, and the Earth Alliance at some point changed its name to Earth Federation, and now he's still working for the same organization.
Yeah, but it also sided with the Three Ships Alliance at the end of and he was still in the Archangel and sacrificed himself to save the Archangel, right?
Right, but
which had
again,
defected
still,
to the
he goes from Earth Federation. I'm going to call it Earth Federation now because all name changes mean anything. The Earth Federation to the Three Ships Alliance. At no point in that was he on Zaft's side. So there's no Three Ships Alliance when he comes back. If he is he, I mean, I would argue there's no way he should have survived either. So shouldn't be Mu, but the opening seems to suggest it is. So, without the Three Ships Alliance, and I guess without the possibility to rejoin his old friends, I mean, unless this is something incredibly stupid, like, he did survive, he goes back and, Ramius is hooked up with Waltfeld, like you were saying, and now he's super angry about that. And this whole season's, in fact, about two jilted lovers, Neo, who couldn't get back with Ramius because of Waltfeld, and Durandal, who couldn't be with Talia because of state-mandated policies about what marriage means.
Yeah.
Two jilted lovers ruining the world. I would be so mad if that's what it turned out to be, because that is fucking stupid. And it's even stupider if I could just haphazardly call it halfway through.
You know what? Just because it is that stupid, I wouldn't be so completely surprised if that's what happened.
I don't want to read a story that I could have written, is what I want to say.
I would hope you can read something better. Write something better.
No, I feel like it's something I would write, because I'm like forum story writer level. I'm not like writer level. I have witnessed so much stuff that my mind goes to the basics.
I mean, jilted lovers creating a war and all that, that's not a bad thing, but...
Look, I'm not here to, like, recreate Helen of Troy, right, in sci-fi.
If it's done well, then it could be good. But this doesn't seem to be the setup for that. It's like, oh, by the way, all this intrigue, all of this. No, that guy couldn't get laid anymore, and that guy couldn't get laid anymore. So
remember that the most basic question, or the most important question of Gundam Seed, has been, how do you stop the cycle of hatred? Right?
Yeah.
How do we stop people from wanting revenge against other people who've done them harm? So, to introduce an element of, these are two jilted lovers who are creating a cycle of hatred on everybody, it's like so beyond the point, right? At least the first season was like, racial tensions create problems between people, and that's like, that has a level of basic understanding that we in the real world can understand.
Yeah.
Versus, I'm a powerful guy, and I can't be with the woman that I want to be with, so I don't know, maybe that is a message for, like, the TikTok generation of the super entitled white guys on the internet who won't leave women alone, who said no one time. But
yeah, the war of the incels. That's basically what the other one was, the 18-month war. This is the war of the incels.
But I know that can't be the case because this came out in 2005, 2006, somewhere around there. So
the internet was still around.
Well, I mean, barely though. I mean, mainstream internet would have been less than 10 years old by that point. I don't know. Like I said, I don't want that to be the case, and I will be severely disappointed if that is the case. The part of Janus 7 that fell to Earth is either the bottom or top of the original plant, and in Seed Season 1, Toll literally calls it a continent when referring to its scale and size, so it is much larger and denser what colonies normally are in Gundam. That assumes, of course, this is me talking now, that assumes, of course, that's not hyperbole. Again, I always go back to how much damage can Superman take, and you have the Superman versus, I can't remember what the team was called, where the guy punches him in the face, and he says, no one could have survived that. That's like the explosion of 1,000 supernovas. It's like, dude's fucking being hyperbolic. That's not true. You don't have to take his word for it. Toll's like, that's like a continent. Might not be. Toll didn't survive the series.
So, yeah, his mathematical projecting abilities were not great, I guess.
Yeah, if he was better at math, he could have dodged the shield that killed him. I don't know. I'm not equating the two things together. I'm just saying that maybe he's like, that's really big. Let me think of something big. I think one of the other significant problems with Destiny is how compressed the timeline of events is compared to Seed. In Seed, there was a great deal of implied time passing that we as the audience did not see, but understood that days or weeks could have been passed between episodes due to travel distances. At the very least, ever since Athrun joined up with the Minerva, there has not been that same or as much of the implied time skipping, and it seems as if the writers are trying to rush a large number of developments into a very narrow time frame, which makes events seem more artificial than natural.
Yeah. I mean, it took them, 3-4 days to go from Australia to the Middle East?
They're in a fucking spaceship. It shouldn't take any time. Literally, go up, Earth rotates underneath you, you're still also heading forward. Same day travel is what it should take.
Yeah, but they went by boat, literally. They became a boat.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think you're talking about the element where they had a submarine trailing behind them, and they had to...
so...
I mean, I would argue is that there's also a large number of events taking place all over the place. So travel time isn't as important anymore because we're not focused on one group of people doing one thing. Yeah. And it's more so, here's an event taking place over here. Here's an event taking place over here. Completely different time zones, doesn't matter. Apparently it all happens during the daytime because I don't ever see us go from daytime here, nighttime there. Also, sometimes we're in space, where ironically it's always nighttime.
They better be.
Well, I mean, Durandal is always in this dark little chamber.
Oh, okay, yeah, but that doesn't mean that it's daytime and nighttime. He's in dark office, basically.
Well, you remember
no windows.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember back to Origin episode 5 when they're attacking Don Tiblo's estate on Texas.
Yes, at night.
Yeah, it's nighttime when they're attacking, and then the lights start hitting them because the other bay is being attacked. And is it dawn already? So, kind of, it's whatever time of day you want it to be. But
but we can't know inside his office because the office is all dark, right?
He was he shot on a new Trek set.
With those pillars of lights. They're pillars of light. They're supposed to have I don't know, something on them, some artifact. Or they're it's supposed to be like a museum kind of.
I was literally just thinking about it when I was watching it earlier. I went to Beetlejuice. That weird sculpture that Lydia's mom makes. One of them crawls up at the end of the movie to wrap the other guy with its little arm bits. That's what it reminded me of.
Yeah.
Gundam Seed Destiny was received very positively in Japan and is still very popular there. 70% of our audience, Japan and the Philippines. But has much worse reputation in the West. I have seen a variety of reasons why people dislike, many of which I share, but I can't really get into that without potentially spoiling things. I would have read this if you did. Also, I really love Witch from Mercury, which people shat on all over the place, but you know what? Fuck those people.
Yeah.
Also, those two got married. I don't care what you said. They literally have wedding rings. There's a wedding kiss. I mean, not shown on screen, but talked about all over the place.
Yeah.
They literally released a special ceremonial rings that were sold online for that shit.
I mean, they were engaged, so...
Yeah, literally, one of them is the other one's... the original Suletta, whose name, it's been so long I've suddenly forgotten her name. Not the original Suletta, by which I mean the original kid who got digitized, is now Mjorn's sister-in-law. Don't know how that happened, unless they got married. Oh well, because they didn't have the Zaft Council overlooking that one. Different universe, it's a joke. It's a joke to our previous whole conversation. The Gundam Seed Freedom movie started development in 2006, but fell into development hell because the main writer became very sick and production didn't start until a few years after her death sometimes. And wow, 2016. Sorry, wow, that is very sick.
Yeah, she didn't come back from that one. That's...
Well, there's an expectation, like, I don't read ahead, right? So I'm just going with the flow, and it's like, the expectation is production didn't start until they got better, blah, blah, blah. Like, oh.
Or someone else took over. It's like, no, she died.
Yeah, I expected like a hard worker scenario in Japan where like they refused to stop working, they got sick, and then like a couple months later they came back and started working. Didn't until after her death. It's like, wait, whoa, that is sick. Also, there are technically two versions of Gundam Seed Freedom in existence. One, the original showing, and two, a special edition with a few additional scenes and some changes that was originally shown. There is also a prequel called Mobile Suit Gundam Seed Freedom Zero, which is currently being developed, and I think is supposed to come out in 2025.
Okay. Lot that in the schedule for this year. If we get
assuming that it comes out in 2025, and assuming somebody doesn't get sick.
Yeah.
That added 10 years to Gundam Seed Freedom movie.
Mm-hmm.
Had to make fun of a person I have no idea about. But I'm not making fun of them. I'm making fun of the idea that somebody got sick, ... and then they died. I'm not even making fun of that, actually. I said that out loud. It's just the idea that I didn't read ahead.
Yeah, oops.
Well, because I think I have a note on a different show. It might be for Mobile Suit Gundam, where somebody got sick and then somebody got sick because they got pneumonia from working too hard. And then production had to start again. I don't remember what the note's about. I just remember the ammonia thing. And I thought that's what I was reading into here until they died.
Damn.
All right, well, that's all the notes, unless you have any further thoughts.
No.
All right, let's go ahead and hop on into it.
But before we get started,
make sure that you hit the like button,
hit that subscribe button,
comment down below to feed that algorithm.
On top of all that, if you want to watch more shows like this,
unfiltered,
uncensored,
and uncut,
as well as some early access stuff,
you can check it out over on the Patreon.
It's just $5 a month, but hey, no pressure.
There's zero pressure in order to do that. It's just a little bit of extra support, and it would be greatly appreciated.
Unnecessary.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, because that's who Houdini died. That's how Houdini died.
And he didn't just punch her. He came running from the door. Like,
also, he's a coordinator. A military-trained coordinator. I mean, I understand the rationality. I can't just talk to you about this because you might alert somebody. Easier to ask forgiveness, but...
yeah.
I also understand there's, like, no real way to knock somebody out without risking some real vital harm. Could have tied her up. Gag in her mouth, tied her up.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish that woman no harm. I'll say this, but I would love if Shin comes back to, like, you killed a person. You know that? You killed a person on your way out.
A nurse and all this.
One that got choked by Stella. Obviously, not high on the Stella camp.
Oh.
We still have no idea what the importance is of that seashell thing. For all we know, Stella literally could have picked it up at the beach that he found her on.
Yeah.
Was literally not important at all. Wait, I know Stella's dying, but let me give her this bottle.
And then they erase their memory.
Probably. And we already know from the foot wrapping thing. She don't keep it. But more importantly, though, Sting doesn't remember who she is because they already wiped Sting's memory. The person who remembered that something was missing here is the guy who died.
This is not a bad song, but it doesn't stick to me the way that Ignite or other songs I heard from the soundtrack does.
Well, we have different tastes in music. I'm not like standing for the song or anything. I'm not like big fan, but it's still better to me than the songs that you like of it. Because again, I really like the piano opening of the first one, which is either Impulse or Ignite. Both I names sort of confusing in my head.
Yeah.
And I'm not a big fan of like the Euro techno beat that it suddenly drops into. At the same time, it's not like I'm not a fan of electronica. Well, it is like I'm not a fan of electronica, I guess. Well, the thing is, there's some, like, I want to say, like, late 90s electronica that became, like, internet memes at some point that I actually did kind of like. It's just mainstream electronica I'm not a big fan of. The same way that I say I'm not a fan of country music, but then I have, like, a list of country songs that I like. So it's like...
Never got into country music.
Well, I was raised not to like country music, and that everybody around me, when I was a kid, hated country music.
Loved it. Oh.
No, they hated country music. No, I wasn't like a rebellious kid. Fucking country music. Yeah, fucking country music. That sort of thing. Country music bad. I hate country music. No, I don't follow people's tastes now. Now that I have my own tastes.
The Endless Nights. And he's gonna get arrested.
Well, remember on the preview, I think we saw our first mobile armor. Oh, our second... Third mobile armor?
Third mobile armor. Yeah.
It might be the Destroy, actually. Because remember, the Destroy is something we saw in the images on Durandal on Jibral's desk. And I'm pretty sure Ramius's vocal thing is something about clear a path in Hellfire Destroy. I literally saw a last episode preview like 2 hours ago.
Yeah.
Court martial for like the third time in the series. But will this one be a real one?
モビルスーツの無許可発進、敵軍との接触。こんな馬鹿げた軍規違反、聞いたこともないわ。
I'll tell you about this one guy who deserted in the middle of the desert.
でもあれは
死にそうでした。艦長もそれはご存知だ。
As I heard you in the hallway.
いくら連合のエクステンデッドだからって、ステラだって人間です。それをあんな風に。解剖した時にデータが取りにくくなるとか、あんなのとか、あの子が死ぬってこと誰も気にもしない。地球軍だってひどいけど、艦長たちだって同じ。
Look, you might be right morally, but we live in a society.
And you're in the military.
事実彼女は連合のエクステンデッドで。私たちは彼女をジブラルタルへ連れて行くようにと司令部から命令を受けていたのよ。個人の勝手な思惑でそれに背くことは許されません。
You hear that, Bright?
この件は司令部に報告せざるを得ないわ。処分は
It's also funny because, Jibril shitting on Neo about orders are meant to be followed or expected to be followed. I expect that to be something related to dying kids because of the whole Ray thing. No, I guess not, because she didn't express that same emotion back in the facility with literally surrounded by dead kids.
ごめん。
Hey,
何がだ。
いや、だって。
お前に詫びてもらう理由などない。俺は俺で勝手にやったことだ。無事に返せたのか。
yeah, but we don't know where you're getting your information from. That's a bigger question that we haven't heard of.
ありがとう。
Well, we do. Talia implied to that guy.
Yeah, who's that guy?
Well, we know
don't
that's
know who that
Durandal.
guy is.
何ですか？
Why Durandal just has given the information to
分
her?
かったと思って。
Private channel.
彼女のことを君がそんなに思い詰めてた。
Also, he's a faith member, so technically he could report directly to Durandal.
思い詰めてたってわけじゃありませんけど。
Ray's a faith man?
ただ嫌だと思っただけです。
Never
No,
mind, I forgot.
Talia
No,
is the-
you're right. So it's that different line.
なのに
Yeah, Arthur is a faith member. Talia's a faith member. Tiny was a faith member.
Ray's his kid.
死んでもしょうがないみ
Yes.
たいに。
I don't know. I still think it's Durandal. It's very clearly Durandal in my mind. I just don't have the evidence to support it.
彼女が連合の
But it doesn't make sense why he would use Ray for that. It's just can
Well,
just give the
also,
order.
there's an element of she's very clearly cool with whoever that guy is.
でもステラは望んでああなったわけじゃない。分かってて軍に入った俺たちとは違います。
I don't know.
Did you though?
I would say free will and circumstance are kind of different opposing factors at play here.
じゃなかったのかもしれない。
Oh, Atherin making the call of you should have let her die.
下手をすればまた。
じゃああのまま死なせればよかったって言うんですか？
そうじゃない。だがこれでは何の解決にも。
あんなに苦しんで怖がってたステラを。
シン。
それにあの人は約束してくれた。
I've not once encountered a person who broke a promise. Promises are infallible in this world.
だから自分のやったことは間違っていないとでも言う気
Don't
か。
you know that's why the war started? A broken promise.
もうやめろ。アスランももういいでしょ。今そんな話をしたって何もならない。で、終わったことは終わったことで。
Well, his name, if he were to take it in Spanish, his name means king, so.
Which one? Ray?
Ray. Yeah.
Ray's last name also means wasted land.
So
Among
the
many
king
things.
of the West.
Burrell means many different things, but one of its meanings is wasted land, and I didn't know how to take that, so I didn't put it in my notes.
Land carrier Bonaparte.
ボナパルト、聞こえるか？識別コードを送る。着艦を許可されたし。
こちらボナパルト、了解。識別コードを確認。ようこそ大佐。アプローチどうぞ。
Great. And my food tray's never getting down that aisle. Who the hell is this girl?
Yeah.
Sorry, it's Sting. He has memory wipe, remember?
なんだってこんな死に損ないみたいなのまでわざわざ。いいんだ。君らは
He doesn't remember her because he.
多すぎるんだから。
That thing I literally just said.
Yeah.
今さらそれも知らなくていいことさ。
Oh, there's some mobile armor.
So I guess she's gonna pilot it. I assume she's gonna get healed and whatever.
何にでも見込み違いということはある。つまりはミネルヴァは君の手には余るとそういうことだ。
Oh, okay. I was hoping we were about to say Durandal or something. The from Lord Gibril.
幸いデストロイが完成してね。君にはそちらを任せることにした。
That's how I answer my emails.
君たちがミネルヴァを
Yeah. Naked in front of the.
必要なかったのだが仕方ない。腐った部分は早く
I have no idea how the hell this could be Mu LaFlaga, though.
あれを使ってユーラシア西側を早く静かにさせ
We fucking literally saw him get destroyed by a full-on
そ
blast.
れならできるだろう。ネオ。
And all he has to show for it is a couple of scars. So you think this is gonna be like the big Zam of Gundam Seed?
Apparently, he says he's gonna destroy deal with Western Europe with one Gundam, so
Yeah, but
one mobile armor.
Get some something that Big Zam was able to take on just like anything, except for the
Yeah.
one guy with 2 energy swords.
しかしスカンジナビア王国にかくまわれてらしたとは。
国王陛下とごく身近な方々しか知らぬことだがな。
They promised us butt
本
stuff.
当にありがたいことだと思っている。
Kingsman,
お父様のこと
the Kingsman
今でも
reference.
惜しんでくださって。
地球軍の攻撃を受けた折も真っ先に救援くださいましたな。あの国は。ああ。
私はまだそういったものに守られているだけだ。あなた方のことにしても。
かがり様。
だが、ならば今はそれに甘えさせてもらい、いつの日かきっとその恩を返す。まだ間に合うというのなら、お父様のように常に諦めぬ良き為政者となることで。
かがり様。
Well, if you remember, your father's government gave up right at the very end.
セーランのやり方に反対し、かがり様が戻られるのを心待ちにしている者も多くおります。
自分には政治向きのことは分かりませんが、この
Don't worry, neither are your writers.
どう見ても連合側に非があるように思えてなりません。
となれば、今やその一陣営であるオーブもこのままでは。そうです。セイラはバカだ。
分かっている。分かっているから少し待ってくれ。
I wish they had clarified Yuna or his dad.
戻りたいと思っている。あなた方やクレタで死んでいった者たちのためにも。だから今少し待ってほしい。そして時が来たら、その時は私に力を。オーブのために頼む。
無論です。かがり様。
オーブのために。
I mean, that couldn't be more Japanese than that. She bowing to them like, oh, you know.
I mean,
An
Orb is
apology.
Japan, so.
Yeah.
お邪魔してもいい？
すみません。こんなところでサボってて。
いいわよ。あなた一人で本当によく頑張ってるもの。また。
It's weird that they have rank symbols on their uniforms.
And they're orb uniforms, I think, right?
Well, yeah, they are Orb uniforms, but they don't represent any given military. They're an independent force of their own making. So
Yeah.
they've arbitrarily given themselves ranks.
戦うようなことに。僕たちが間違ってるんで
Because
す
you'd
か。
think, being that they're this independent group trying to just be a force for good, they'd be a group of equals.
ラクスが狙われたことも何かの間違いで。僕たちのやってることの方がなんか馬鹿げた間違ったことだとしたら。
キラ君。
And it is.
でも大切な誰かを守ろうとすることは決して馬鹿げたことでも間違ったことでもない。
Yeah, it's actually the source of the violence that we've been trying to fight. Is that everyone trying to protect everyone else is actually causing everyone to fight everyone else.
大切な人がいるから。
Oh, one person tried to commit genocide, so
マリュウさん。
I don't think you can
Not
blame
really
the whole
protecting.
over a year-long war on the guy who only started to be involved in the war
ただ
like 8 months in.
というか思うことが違っちゃうこともあるわ。その誰かがいてこその世界なのに。
Yeah, remember when that guy died? Well,
私たちもきっと守りたいと
again, he's fucking died. I don't know how you retcon that.
だから余計難しいんだと思うけど、いつかきっとまた手を取り合える時が来るわ。あなたたちは。だから諦めないで。
So I know it's supposed to be a touching scene between Ramius and Kira, but Kira already pointed out something that was already dumb, and now I can't help but think that maybe Kira taught Mu the same move that got him out of the explosion and sent him into space into a plant colony. That's how he survived with only bruising on his right-hand side. Wow, they fixed her up fast.
ああ、ステラもこれでまた
They were literally wheeling her in on like one of those things, somebody with,
私たちを殺す。
I forgot the name of the problem.
殺す。ステラの。
You know, like a childhood disease from back in like the early 1900s, when they'd put you in like a breathing tube where only your head stuck out of it.
ならやらないとな。ステラならできるだろう。怖いものはみんななくしてしまわなくちゃ。
怖 怖いものなくす。
So this is an attack on Scandinavia, I guess?
Well, yeah. Obviously, both ships are in Scandinavia. So I had a brief thought that maybe mind wiping everyone is the way to peace. But it occurred to me that was the bad guy's plan in Naruto.
Yeah.
Naruto Shippuden, I mean. Also, it didn't work in, yeah, Roger Smith is from what anime? Big O. Everyone lost their memories in Big O and people were still fighting each other, so clearly that didn't work. So I'm assuming she got the specs on Destroy. Because we know Durandal knows about it, if he's not involved or something. It's fucking Big Zam with some added things. Right down to having no arms and 2 giant legs. The Tyrannosaurus Rex of mobile armors. Also, is it just me, or does the Neo's Gundam have Evangelion colors? Also, we don't have another Gundam protopilot anyway.
Yeah.
拘束中のエクステンデッドが逃亡の末死亡したことは遺憾であるが、機関のこれまでの功績と現在の戦況を鑑み、本件については不問に付す。一体これはどういうことですか？失礼します。
Well, remember, this is also the guy that chose Shin to pilot the Impulse to begin with.
Yeah.
So clearly he wants Shin out here.
And I'm guessing that Shin is the one who's gonna end up killing Stella.
Oh look, it's the Battle of Odessa, except we're actually showing shit. I don't know. I was about to say I don't think Stella's gonna die, but very clearly she could, so I don't know. This could turn into an 8th MS team situation. They really powered up the Big Zaw.
Yeah. And obliterated the entire city because, of course, they did.
I mean, the one who should be mad is the nurse he punched.
ご心配をおかけしました。もう大丈夫です。いろいろとありがとうございました。
Doesn't sound very sincere.
I mean, he didn't have to say it, so. I'll give it this, it's very effective, even if it's super dumb looking.
And very murdery, too.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would say it does look like they're attacking a civilian target, but the civilian target is filled with military machinery. Like, there's as many zaft forces here as we've seen in every Earth Force versus Minerva engagement. Oh, could you make it look a little bit more evil, though?
通達です。
え？
ユーラシア中央より地球軍が侵攻。すでに3都市が壊滅。
Oh,
Oh,
cities
those
are
were
already
3
being destroyed.
individual attacks we were seeing, not just one attack against one place. Unless they're indicating that they have 3 of these things.
司令部にも俺のこと分かってくれる人はいるみたいです。
Okay, you're becoming a little bit of a dick.
全てじゃないってことですよ。
行きます、マリュウさん。分かったわ。
では。
See, I don't think anyone would argue that Kira showing up there would be a bad thing.
Yeah.
やっつけなきゃ。怖いものは全部。
Did she get her mind wiped? I feel like she did.
Yeah, she did.
We didn't see it.
She was in the pod. She was in the pod. And then he has to tell her, he gives the command word to, Neo gives the command word to get her to fight. It's like, oh, they're going to kill us all. It's like, oh, yeah, I got to protect everybody, right? I don't want to die.
Okay, if that happened on screen, I clearly blacked out.
Oh, she was waking up from the pod, so yeah.
Didn't see it.
Yeah.
I clearly missed it.
Mm-hmm. Did you? I think you said something. Oh, yeah, it's in the pod. It's going to be the same thing with the bandit. She's completely going to forget.
That was that was during. I said that when we were doing the flashbacks before even the opening scene. So yeah, I know. I remember saying that because I said that when as a joke to Shin handing her the bottle with the thing in it.
Yeah.
But that was during the pre-opening flashback to what happened last episode.
Yeah.
Because I do not remember what you're talking about here, but it makes more sense than my supposition that they just fucking skipped over everything, which is why I said that. But we'll bring this back up in a second.
炎に浮かぶ巨大な影、圧倒的な力。優しき腕を忘れた瞳に映るのはただ恐怖の世界か。求めて振り下ろすそれぞれの剣が救えたものは。次回機動戦士ガンダムシードデスティニーステラ暗黒の空切り裂けフリーダム。
I don't know, it seems to me like she very clearly remembers, as though she didn't get her mind wiped. What I was going to say before was that statement that I said in the middle of the episode. I was like, oh, she got healed pretty damn quickly. Because from my perspective, she got wheeled in the thing. And I was trying to remember the name of polio. Polio was what I was trying to remember. The people you see suffering from polio are in those like metal tubes.
Iron lungs, Iron lungs.
While I was trying to remember the name of the iron lung, the next thing we see her is standing next to Neo, ready to pilot. I said, "Oh, she got healed pretty quickly." Because I don't remember her in the memory thing getting.
She was standing up in the pod. The pod was open. She was standing up, and then so. Get the healing. They pass through the destroy. Chiden is standing up in the pod, and then the next scene is Neo basically telling her, you got to go and do this.
You're describing it. I literally don't remember. So I was so lost trying to remember the name Polio that I did not. Damn it, Polio! You claimed another one, and you will again because of politics. Politics. Ah, damn that worm eating that guy's brain. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, so I just missed that part. Anyway, no, I'll see it again. Or for the first time, as it turns out, when I take my notes. Yeah. I don't know. This is an element of, well, how do we kick it up a notch? Bigger mech. And I know that's a standard of Gundam as a plot device. Well, we need a super weapon or a bigger mech.
Yeah.
But this just feels like, I don't know why. Like, they didn't even set it up as far in advance as they did in the first season of Gundam Seed, where we see the 3 Gundams that I guess turned out to be extended show up in later. On the Earth Federation Admiral's computer. Like, we see that, like, maybe 5, 6, 7 episodes before they actually show up. This was, like, 2 episodes ago, and now here it is.
And also more war crimes. because of course we got to show all the war crimes.
Well, it's also very hard painting Gibral and the Earth Federation as the only way you could possibly sell people to our cause is fear. We did it to Orb, now to do it to everyone else, but with physical, we gotta prove to them that we're gonna do it. Orb we got with what we did last time. They don't want that again. We gotta do it to more countries so they know we're still capable of doing it.
Yeah. This is a Death Star moment in the show, basically.
Well, yeah, but it's also there's no nuance to the bad guys. They are...
I mean, I don't think there ever was a nuance with Gibral. At first it was oh, we have these plans, but that's about it, There's never been any nuance to the
No, I said to the bad guys. I'm counting season 1 and season 2 together. The bad guys. When the plants were supposed to be our bad guys, and it found out that their backstory and everything, that the people who have been trying to fight against us, who destroyed the country, the colony that we came from, has been invading Earth, are actually basically a slave revolt. That they are actually fighting for their rights to survive on an attack done against them. It recontextualizes how we think of the plants and the coordinators. It gives them nuance. Turns out that the bad guys on the Earth Federation side are just space racists who only rule through fear. And literally only fear. And apparently can only do slavery, because once we don't have any coordinators, we create a new slave race called the Extendeds, and then we force labor camped people in their own countries. More floor slavery. So literally, they're only one note, and then when you give them the opportunity to be two notes, they fall back into the one note.
Yeah. War crimes, attempted genocide, and slavery.
Well, that's my point, is that they're so mustache-twirling bad guys, it's well, what are we even doing anymore?
Yeah.
I don't know where to go from here. This is just, not good writing. You introduce the concept of, the one percenters who are controlling the wartime economy and the means of production, and it turns out that they also created racism. It's okay, so you're saying that... How did they create racism?
Creating an enemy race, I suppose, literally.
No, they didn't create well, there's no indication that they created the coordinators. The indication is that they created Blue Cosmos. So, how does that even work? Did you buy TV spots?
I mean...
Was your neighbor a coordinator? What do they...
I mean, once people realize that other people were made to be superior to them, at least physically, I think people would be very nervous and fearful. And based on that, they exploited that and went But
again, Orb is the obvious example of that's not what happens naturally. The idea that this is how people could act is different from this is how people should act. And it feels
it's manufactured consent, literally. That's what they're doing, right? At least that's what Jupiter feels like. We have to tell these people how to think. This is how we have to do, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying, is that they created Blue Cosmos, right? But that's not how people have acted. It feels there's a difference. There's a difference that Orb exists, and why is Orb special, other than idealism? So nobody other country on Earth had ideals?
I think that Scandinavia seems to be idealistic, helping out Orb and stuff like that.
No. We've already covered that Orb is the only country where naturals and coordinators could live together. So despite whatever Scandinavia is doing now, at some point they were shooting coordinators in the streets, as per our previous flashback of, musician getting out of car, bloody shoes, right? So, what... I can't help but feel like this is the position of Japan makes the anime, so Japan puts itself in special position. That Orb is special because we made the anime. So, but the whole rest of the world bit onto that same bullet of can't have coordinators around.
Yeah, no.
Hard enough watching the Olympics without me killing every Olympian because they're fucking better than me. So,
so
it's like, I don't understand what I'm seeing here. It's like, I don't watch sports and be like, gotta get the gun, you know?
I mean, with sports, there's a conceit that anybody who works hard enough could compete, right?
Another shooting at the Jeopardy set because those guys are too fucking smart.
But this is people who were genetically engineered to be better, right? You know.
Right. Again, there's not much difference to me. Look, I might not be genetically engineered, but I knew that hard work wasn't going to happen. So, I'm just saying, it's a stupid conceit. I don't see it myself. Like, I don't know if Star Trek is to believe, Khan just takes fucking over. There's no revolt against Khan. Khan brings the war to people.
Yeah.
Actually, I think there was 8 people like Khan who like just took over the world in Star Trek.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just don't see it. Gattaca, as we already discussed before, is the whole idea that that's just what the world becomes. People just become better, and the lesser people trick their way into positions of power. I don't know what's happening there. They become janitors or astronauts. There are 2 options in Gattaca.
Yeah. Gattaca wasn't very well put together, so
I didn't have a problem with it. I mean,
it looks stunning, but the story is like, what? But, huh?
I didn't have any questions about Gattaca, other than the questions I was forced to answer because I watched it at school. Probably why I didn't have any questions. I was supplied with questions.
It's like, here, answer this. It's like, okay. Do I get a grade? Yes. Okay, sure.
It's like one of those movies that they give to parents that have like questions at the end to discuss with your kids after you're done watching the movie. With the ramifications of...
Did you see where he put the thing in her? I didn't want to see that, Mommy. Well, now you saw it.
Hold on, let me get that door. I think that's CPS.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I mean, again, there's the element that they're so one note, and now what are they doing? They're just destroying cities that are, as you pointed out, it's the Death Star situation, and it's like, Neo, at least has nuance. Neo is like, I care about these people, but then, even then, he's not written like he cares about these people.
Yeah, no.
I really care about her, and we show him scenes of like him holding them, and then he's talking to them, hey, I let them go into the city, oh, that was a mistake. And then it's like, protect her, make sure she's free from war, I promise. Look like she's in the walking Death Star.
Yeah. It's like, literally, they called it destroy. Like, okay. I guess so, you know.
I feel like even Patrick Zala had more nuance than Lord Gibril and all of them. Well, I mean, because we knew where Patrick was coming from. Patrick's like, they'll fucking kill us. We have to kill them first, or they will kill us. Yeah. And then we saw his rise to power as he was voted into office. Whereas Gibril is just like, no one's going to vote for this guy. We've got to write it so that he is like already in control of the literal people who have been voted in office. That's why he's able to tell the president what to do.
Yeah.
Because we established that he's already more powerful than president, because we couldn't naturally write a guy like this into existence. Could you imagine trying to do a prequel of Lord Gibril?
And what was that?
You're talking about, I think you're staring at the screen for the president thing. I'm talking about Lord Gibril.
Yeah, I know.
Lord Gibril, you could not do a prequel for. I don't feel like you could say this is how Lord Gibril got into power without people being like, this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I mean, Lord Gibril would have to be, well, my dad was rich, and then that would be the prequel, because there's no way. There's no way you can write this guy into reality.
We've been ruling the world for the last 10,000 years, and this just happens to be my great-great-great-great-great-great-grandson. So, you know.
I mean, well, that's basically my annoyance here, is that I feel like Season 1 made sense. Like, okay, we created a Superman, sure. People didn't like Superman, so it turns out they started killing him in the streets, and then Superman took all of his other Superman and went to space. It's like, okay, sure. He was already in space. He came back from space, and that's what he did. So we set that up already. There's like nothing here that didn't make sense, at least from I could buy into that perspective. And then Season 2 starts, and then everything is kind of just like, I can't even buy into it anymore.
Yeah, because the problem, here's another problem that I had for a while, is that yes, the fact that it's unrealistic that things would have been ended just because it's the end of the war and when everybody lives happily after, it's unrealistic. But from a writing narrative perspective, it's like, okay, we want to continue the war. What do? We got to find a way to force that fight to continue.
They should have focused on the Zala faction more. I mean, even if it's a creation of ours has to be, they haven't been mentioned ever again. Not like 20 episodes now, but they should have made that. Literally, people who believed that the Naturals had to die because Zala was right. It's built in. It's literally just remnants of the last faction.
It would have been that they want revenge because the wounds of war have not properly healed.
You literally said it already when you used the word revenge. That's literally the whole basis of first season of Seed. How do you stop the cycle of revenge for the hurt that you felt that was caused to you by another? They didn't answer that in the first season, which I thought was entirely realistic because there is no real answer. So my fear was always, they're going to make something up that only could exist in a Gundam show. And they didn't. They used reality, which is, I don't know, we're kind of still people at the end of the day. And then
but the problem was that they had, when they made the Blue Cosmos so cartoonish with launching an attack to destroy all the plants and stuff like that, and then have the SAF have the super weapon that neutralize all the attacks, is like, what do we do? I guess we go back to Earth and start having fights on Earth. It's like, I think most of this should have happened in space.
Well, I don't have a problem with that part because that's just a internal breakdown of the whole alliance thing. The fighting on Earth is because the countries involved kind of just like started fighting themselves, which is very human. And they are still fighting in space. We've already seen that the warships fighting around the moon sort of thing.
Yeah.
But what I think is the sorry, I lost track. You said something and I really wanted to focus on it. Now I can't think what you said.
All the things I said.
No, I've lost it. I lost the thought. There was something there, and it was...
Once they, first of all, when we want to kill everybody in the plants, no matter what, it makes them very cartoonish.
Sorry.
And also,
the thing that should have fallen apart is like the fact that they did this nuke thing multiple times, because that implies that everybody in the military is a fervent Blue Cosmos member. Because at no point did we launch all of our nukes and be like, that moment of introspection that you get in any like war movie where something like this is happening, like, oh god, what have we done? That moment of humanity of, I think we just killed a bunch of kids. Like, even Dozel Zabi knew that this sort of thing was wrong and had to justify it in his own mind. Nobody paused for a second and be like, oh god, what are we doing? They launched a second nuclear wave. That's like, we started, like in war games, right? Where they think the nukes are coming in. It'd be like, oh fuck. And then the computer dies down. And like, let's fire again. You know? It's like, let's do World War III again. You know, this is like, that's, nobody does that. They're all 100% screaming out the Blue Cosmos line. Let's kill all the fucking coordinators as well. Everyone is 100% dyed in wool, a racist bad guy. Nobody pauses or hesitates. Well, to be fair, there are some people that pause and hesitate, but we put them all in the three-ship alliance. There can't be any good guys on the bad guy side.
Yeah.
There's a zero nuance. That's my problem. That's why I appreciate shows like 86 and whatnot, where people on either side are all trying to figure things out. I'm loath to say it, but in a good narrative, there should be good people on both sides.
There should be understandable people on both sides. I'll give you that.
I would say, when I say good
you
people,
can understand.
Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, if you're painted that way, then what you're saying is no one's good, but we all know where everyone's coming from. I would argue that the coordinators are... Go ahead.
They should be allowed to be bad, but in a way that's understandable, not cartoonish. It's like,
I would argue that if you understand where they're coming from, that their sense of good would be good still. Nobody's doing a well-written character is not doing evil for evil's sake. And in their mind, the evil that they're doing is only evil from the other side's perspective. if you're trying to say, oh, God, all the examples I can come out in a real world, and I'm not doing that anymore. If you were, say, trying to exterminate the naturals, as Patrick Zala was, your justification is, look at what they've done to us in the past. They're going to keep doing that to us. Look at what they're doing right now, trying to nuke us out of existence. This is the final solution. God damn it. This is the last chance we've given them, and it makes sense. From Patrick Zala's perspective, looking back at the history of coordinator natural relations, and from that, it's always been naturals attack us, we die, we defend ourselves, we get made the villains. His very evil action is a good thing to most coordinators.
I still think it's wrong. It's just that I understand why he's doing it, because understanding shouldn't be an excuse. It's because I understand why your impulse to do something doesn't mean you get a free pass. Like what happened with, well, they let him go in the same episode, but technically speaking, what Shin did was like, oh, I understand why Shin did it, but he still got punished for it. Like,
can't wait till after the war where he gets brought on civil charges by that nurse.
Yeah.
But no, I'm talking about the not the idea of understanding being the end all or even an excuse. It's just, if you are looking at things from the perspective of the person you understand, you should also understand why they think it's a good thing, and it's not morally objective.
I think it should be. I mean, I can understand why you're doing it. I can still be objectively wrong, because just because you're convinced that it's right.
I'm talking about most actions, not the obvious I'm doing a bad thing for good reasons actions, because you can still be in that camp as well. You can be in the camp of, this is a bad thing that I'm doing, but I'm doing it for a good cause. I'm talking about the actions that you take that you think are good, that are from the outside bad because of different perspectives. Again, if you're in the racist...
something.
Sorry, go ahead.
I would classify it as I would say you're doing the wrong thing for the wrong reasons. You would say it might be wrong, but I'm doing it for the right reasons. And I would say, I understand your reasons. They're still wrong. So you're still doing the wrong thing for the wrong reasons.
I'm saying that your objection that you're doing the wrong thing for the right reasons, from a different perspective, could be, I'm doing the right thing for the right reasons. That your perspective of your thing being wrong.
That's where the nuance comes in.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is that from your
perspective? It doesn't eliminate it, yeah.
Well, no, it does. It does eliminate it, because it's only a problem on your side, because you've morally objectified this as being a wrong thing. But from our side of the field, this is actually a good thing that we're doing. Now, granted, that typically only comes into play with racists and whatnot. I find in media that the racist has no problem killing certain factions of people. So, from their perspective, killing these people is good. They have no moral qualms about it. And then they're doing a good thing for good reasons. Can't off the top of my head recall any time that sort of moral certainty has not come from, say, a hardline fascist or whatever.
I mean...
Or a fascist mindset, I should say, not a hardline fascist.
I mean, the firebombing of Europe by the Allies. Or Japan. The idea is, we have to do this because the resistance will be too hard, or we're going to convince the civilians to stop the war. It didn't actually work that way.
I literally just mentioned the whole Dozel v. Rombo-Roll debate pre-Operation British in a comment not too long ago. The whole pragmatism versus moral and ethnic. I think I said ethnic. I meant ethical matters in regards to the invasion of Japan versus shock and awe campaigns.
Yeah.
Because again, that is like one of the best examples in Gundam about it, even though they don't address it full on or even make note that this might be what they're addressing. I think it's one of those pieces of media that even a dunce like me can figure out, this is what they're actually talking about.
Yeah. So there you have it, this episode. Destruction of 3 cities. So, also, I find
it was the best of times. It was the worst of times.
Yeah, it was a little bit on the nose. I mean, all the names of the Gundams in this season has been pretty on the nose. But we're going to call this Destroy.
See, I thought you were going a different way with that. I mean, granted, again, this one's called Savior, and it comes and saves everybody. I thought you were going with the fact that it's a big Zom, and they didn't call it a big Zom, thank God, but they brought back Zaku's and Goofs and all that shit, and it's like, why?
Yeah.
It's not that place. But all right.
There you have it.
Yeah. So that has been this episode. Once again, I have been Theta. This has been Lessons. We've been Stoneface Reactions, and we will catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another Stoneface Reactions. If you have an idea of another video we could go ahead and watch, go ahead and put it in the comments down below and we'll add it to the wheel. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know what you thought about this video and what parts you liked. And until then, we'll see you next time. Is this too goofy?